How did I get an A in an art school that really didn't like me? Well, first year of school, I wasn't doing too bad. The art course, I'd skipped over the foundation course and they'd started me off in the first year. Now, for the first year, I had done a lot of drawing and a little bit of painting. I say a little bit, quite a bit of painting, but nothing where I felt like I was really expressing my style or my own thought process. I was just doing the exercises which the painting tutor set, which I really appreciated. That was good lessons that we had. Whereas all the support from the first year started to dwindle towards the end, and it was due to one tutor being the predominant influence upon the group, and a balance of the students started to change. Some students had left because they didn't like certain personalities in the studio, and then someone was introduced who then joined up with someone who was a bit unpleasant in the studio, and those two together was a really nasty concoction. I talk about it on a podcast that I did quite some time ago, and it's one of the few videos that's been downvoted, and it was downvoted, I suspect, by the people directly involved in the trouble at university. If you want to watch that video, it's on a previous podcast I had with a co-host, and I will leave the link here. So for this video, I'm going to be showing you the art film that I made. Now it's not your typical art film where it's kind of like David Lynchian type of art film where it's all black and white, or not that David Lynch is black and white, but like what you imagine as an art film being is black and white and grainy and kind of, this, that and the other. This is more a project that I made in my second year of university, which is when we went into lockdown and COVID was a real conversation that the country was having at the time. So it was 2020. And this is a project that it took me a while to figure out how to tackle it. The tutors had set us a project, but the way that they introduced the information that we were supposed to use, I found really hard to understand. And maybe it's me. I don't think it's necessarily unrealistic that I just process this information at a different rate to what normal people do, because I really struggled to think, what should I do to make this project? And I'd started to make a film, and it was completely different to the one that I actually made. And the one which I made, I actually got an A for it, and it's the only time that I got an A in school, which I thought I was doing well, but apparently they weren't quite so receptive to my my work, which you can read that several ways. I have my own interpretation of why, but that could be completely my own lens, and I accept that to an extent. But making this film was it was interesting. It was a real push. I mean, it was really up against the deadline, which I do a lot, but I like parts of this film. I was going to only show you a certain amount of it, but I might as well show you the whole thing because it's about 15 minutes long, and with this intro and with an outro, it would be 16, 17 minute long video. So maybe a 20-minute video or something. So whatever, this is how I got an A in art school. I hope you enjoy the film. Here it is. My name is Simon Renshaw. I'm a second year student of fine art at the university, and I've been in lockdown since the 12th of March 2020. There's a real sense of depth and an understanding and appreciation of how to show an expanse or a rickety fence or, a battle scene. It's a real study of form, temperature, and times and places, the era and accessories, fashion, whether it's seen, felt, or imagined, conjured up from somewhere abstract and made into something real and alive. It's almost a world building because in this consistency throughout the landscape, using the colours and the composition, it's usually the interaction between the characters and their environment, the dynamics in which they fit, and the interactions which they have, the creativity and the connections, the friendships, the contact, the drama, the symbolism, and often the relatability. Coming from a more figurative background, I'm starting to explore different media and how they react under different circumstance and environments. It's really seeing the relation between different substances working with media and how it can convey a message or an image. It's a more unorthodox approach, I suppose. It's really more exploratory than I'm used to. Some can almost seem like a Rorschach test where you're looking at ink blotches trying to find more figurative shapes in abstract work. When I think about where I'd like this to all lead, I suppose I'm looking for a sort of thread tying them all together, some kind of umbrella over the whole, separate avenues of study and investigation. It's almost like a body of work that would seem cohesive when viewed in a sequence. I do consider where I position myself with regards to influence in the different areas of study, such as art, technology, design and craft. And I've positioned myself central on that cross-section. I'm part of a school of thought that believes that if you do remove any of those aspects, then it affects the others and has an overall detrimental effect. And there's a lot of theory that we're still trying to decrypt from past studies done by masters. And I believe that part of that movement could be crucial to the development of future technologies and will always be part of a stronger foundation. I'm hoping that my work can span over several different disciplines of the arts with the same voice and the same message. I think I have a fairly healthy relationship with failure. I mean, all of my work I consider to succeed and fail to different extents in different areas, and it all becomes just part of the process. It opens up the opportunity to reassess and reevaluate, the steps that you've taken to maybe consider a different approach. It opens up, more potential for taking chances. I just consider it to be a failure is more of a step on the road to success, really. It's hard to get into a routine. I've noticed that because I'm waking up in my workspace, defining the points of starting work and taking a break and going to sleep and eating and everything that's a normal routine sort of breaks down over time. On the 12th of March, when I decided to lock down in one room, I moved everything from the greenhouse, which I was using as an at-home studio when I wasn't in uni. And everything in there got moved into my room so that I could work on it in here. And it's everything from boxes of, materials to use, and canvases and boxes and sketchbooks, portfolio folders and paper bags and all bits of rubbish and things that would be going in the bin normally, but I like to grab them before they do and see if I can do something with them. So it made the room really cluttered and difficult to wake up and get started. Everything that I make is usually on physical, materials on a surface, on a piece of paper or cardboard or wood. But I have found that the online space feeds the production of the physical build, and it's usually incentive to produce content for a channel or an account. And I'll set up a time-lapse video and try to record the process. It can even become a several-part project, and that adds another layer of the experience to me to express, a creative voice, really, using video and editing and camera angles and how you're going to tell the story of making the piece. I've always recorded whenever I can the drawing or painting process that I've done, but I've not done anything with the videos yet. But I do have a backlog of a lot of video footage and photographs. It's a great platform for sharing images and process. I use bits of digital media, but not much. Procreate is something that I'm new to. I prefer Photoshop, so I'm using Procreate like an alla prima sketchbook to document my indoor life. And I appreciate the inside toys that we have, especially when you're not able to play outside. Things like that are really useful to distract from the current situation.
Combination lock, fitted up with brushes, combs.
No. Oh, look, Joe. Now look.
I want a big one.
This is Jimmy Stewart in the 1946 Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life. But when it was first released, it was considered a box office flop and only began to gain favourability after losing copyright. This happened in 1974 when Republic Pictures failed to renew its copyright status over the film due to what is considered potentially a clerical error. But following this mistake, television studios capitalised on its availability. This film would be played every year and soon became known as a Christmas classic. It was becoming a family favourite and part of the public zeitgeist. And I would argue this is all because...
No charge.
That's my trick here, Joe. It sounded like you said no charge.
That's right.
there was no name attached in order to collect royalties, making its availability help proliferate the work, and I would argue increase its value. In 2019, Stan Prokopenko and Marshall Vandruff
published a video which demonstrated an AI app which helped their students learn perspective. The way that it worked was that the student would draw a box, submit the work, and then the AI would calculate how close the box was to a correct perspective and overlay their drawing with the correction. This was using AI for the line detection and a software which did mathematical programming in order to determine a vanishing point from the key lines that were detected and to then determine the lines of convergence. The results were very interesting and humorous, and I recommend viewing them for yourself. When I first saw Macaulay Lynn's piece, The Painful Cake, I did think it was an intensive work, and it was only on reading further that I realised the audience reception of this work was out of the artist's control, and it only highlighted the overdue conversation regarding identity, sexuality, female genital mutilation, and race. In contrast, however, after viewing more about Santiago Sierra's work, I do consider his piece 160mm tattoo line to be an exploitative piece of women working as prostitutes, addicted to heroin, paying only for a single shot of the drug. This is not a tasteful piece of work in my opinion.
30 people are going to receive tattoos of the parts per million of carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere in the year of their birth. It's our way of marking both the start of the Paris climate talks and the push for a strong climate deal.
The Liberate Tate art group didn't pay its subject to be tattooed and be part of the piece. They did get consent, and they did not use exploitation. Even though I've been locked down for almost a year in one room, I can't begin to imagine the hardship experienced by those who felt convinced, coerced, or compelled to be on the front lines during a global pandemic. The only time I leave the house is to go to the shops or the pharmacy. I'm always shocked at how busy it is on the roads and how normal it looks outside. My only hope is that we start to react to this emergency with the sense of urgency needed to keep as many people as possible safe from infection.
Okay, so that's the project. That's what I did. Now, I know that the first few segments were quite fun and enjoyable, and as it went on, it started to become a little bit more downbeat and depressing, and a bit more, of a downward tone because of the time when I made this. And it's just one of those things. I enjoyed certain elements. I really tried to play on the aspect ratio. I thought that would be an interesting, idea to inject into the film. To make it so that, I don't know if you even noticed, but to make it so that everything was inside of a box. And then when I'd driven out to the woods, I was out of the house. I was, walking in the woods, and it was real freedom. So I'd made it full screen. There was no aspect ratio imposed upon the footage. I quite like that idea. It's not my original idea. I'd seen it in films before, but I thought it'd be nice to inject in this because it's related to the lockdown and how it felt. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you can, please leave a like and share the video and share the channel with people, because as I say quite often now, I really want the channel to grow. Thankfully, I've hit my 400 subscriber mark, which I'm very appreciative of. I've got some fantastic guests coming up, so because I also do a podcast in case you're not aware. So I have some podcast guests that are really exciting to show you. So I'm hoping that might drive some more traffic towards the channel. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video.